As an entrepreneur, you can't afford not to focus on getting attention and making yourself findable. In today's digital world, that is a must. So if you're an entrepreneur and you plan on surviving, you better learn real fast how to garnish attention, how to capture attention, or how to get it in some way, shape, fashion, or form. Because if you don't learn how to get attention, I promise you, you're going to lose in this entrepreneurial race. You're going to lose. Because I say this because the only way you can get anyone to buy anything from you is to get their attention. You're not going to get them to buy anything from you any other way. I promise you, we can make a huge bet. And I will bet you that if you do not give somebody your attention, I promise you they're not going to buy anything from you. As an entrepreneur, you have to understand how a transaction works between a business and a customer. And the reason I say that, because I believe if you gain this understanding, then you understand why attention is so valuable in order to sell somebody something. See, when people give you their money for the product that you are selling, that means that your product has become more valuable to them than their money. That means your product is worth more. That means your product is worth more than the money that they're giving to you. Otherwise, they wouldn't give you the money. The product that you are selling, the product that you are advertising, the offer that you get out there is more valuable to them than the money that they give you. Otherwise, you wouldn't get that money. And if getting that money is based upon value, the only way that you are going to be able to communicate value is to get their attention. Because if you don't get their attention, then how can you communicate value? And if you can't communicate value, then how do you expect them to give over their or fork over their hard-earned money? Because the only reason why they're giving over their money to you is because they believe that whatever you're selling is worth more to them. But if you cannot communicate that value to them, then you're never going to see any coins come out of their pocket at all. That's why attention is so important if you plan to survive as an entrepreneur. As a matter of fact, Webster defines attention as taking notice of something or someone. In other words, if no one's taking notice of you, you're not getting attention. If no one is interested in you, then you're not getting attention. You have to get people to take notice of you. Why do you think these businesses, these companies like Apple are spending billions and billions and billions of dollars on getting people to take notice of them? Nike spends billions and billions of dollars on getting people to take notice of them. That's what attention is. Attention is getting people to be able to take notice of you. Matter of fact, let me explain attention to you this way. Attention in actuality is basically your eyes and your ears. No, let me say it like this. Think of attention like this. Think of attention as your eyes and your ears are spotlights. They literally spotlights. They shine the light on things, right? Your ears and your eyes are spotlights that shine the light on things. And the light that they shine on things is the crowd or the environment that you are in. And they shine the light on the environment or the crowd that you're in based upon the stimulation or based upon what's going on out in this external environment, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say you're scrolling down social media, right? And then all of a sudden you popped across, you see somebody's post on Instagram, right? And then you click on this post because if you find it interesting, you find that it's something that you like, and you click on this post. And after clicking on this post, you're endowed into it. And then about 10 to 15 seconds later, someone walks in the room and disturbs exactly what you are doing at the moment while you're looking at the post. And then your spotlight goes from that post into the attention of the person that disturbed you, right? So your spotlight went from the Instagram post or the TikTok post you was looking at to the person that disturbed you. And then let's say that person that disturbed you, you're talking to that person, right? And then all of a sudden you get a buzz or a beep on your phone. It's a notification saying breaking news that this and this happens. So then your spotlight, which is your eyes or your ears, it goes away from that person into that notification that you just received, right? And then so you switch your spotlight from Instagram, from that Instagram or TikTok post to the person that came in to disturb you and to the notification that you got on your phone. All day long, you are getting these spotlights from your environment. See, you can control where you point your attention, but you can't control what pops up for your attention. So what I'm saying is that the whole entire environment, the whole crowd is trying to pop up and get your attention. From notifications to people's Instagrams posts, to people in real life, to the billboards on the highways that you pass up. Everybody is trying to get you to spotlight them. And that is why companies spend billions and billions and billions upon billions of dollars trying to figure out how to get people to spotlight them so that you can take notice of them, right? Apple, you just got to grasp this for a second. I spotlight Apple. Matter of fact, everybody listening to this webinar right now, everybody listening to this talk, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, wherever you are, if you're listening to this talk, then you either listening to it on a device that were made by Apple or a device that operates on Android, right? And these people are spotlighted every day in your life. I can't go anywhere without seeing Apple. Apple is spotted every day in my life. Microsoft is spotted every day. I see Microsoft every day sees my attention. Microsoft every day is spotlighted. Starbucks is something every day that's spotlighted. Nike is something that is spotlighted every day. Companies that are constantly getting you to spotlight them are the ones making billions upon billions of dollars. Why? Because they always get you to take notice of them. They're always getting you to take notice of them. I promise you, you cannot go a day. Listen to me. If you're on YouTube, wherever you are, you cannot go a day without without Apple getting your attention. You cannot do it. You really can't do it. You can't probably go a day without Microsoft getting your attention. Why? Because all these things captures you for you to take notice of it. Do you know companies right now are trying to, let's say, companies right now are harvesting all your data because they want to know everything about you. And the reason they want to know everything about you is so they can focus on how to get your spotlights. They need to focus on how to get your eyesight and your earsight. They want to focus on how to get you to take notice of them. So they use your data to create algorithms so they can best figure out how you operate, so they can best figure out how to get you to take notice of them using the data that you give them every single day on the platforms in which you use. And businesses are spending billions and billions. As a matter of fact, right now, there are stores right now in the world that have facial recognition technology or facial expression technology that pays attention to your mood, that tries to detect your age, that tries to detect, literally, are you happy at the moment? So they can figure out how to properly to get you to take notice of them. Or so that they can use this data to come back to you to get you to spotlight them. And an algorithm's number one job is to find out what you like and then repackage it and sell it to you. Everybody is competing for your attention. Just like if you're an entrepreneur, you also need to be in this race competing for people's attention. Because the only way, again, you're going to sell anything to anybody is by getting attention. You're not going to do it any other way. I promise you that. Because if you cannot communicate your value to people because they don't pay attention to you, you're not going to get them to buy anything. And I just had to say that again. People buy when value exceeds price. But if they cannot get a hold of the value that you're promising, there's no reason for them to throw out any cash at you. You can't sell to anybody that you don't know, that you don't come across. I promise you. You can go and try it, and then they're going to take you away and put you in a crazy house. But you cannot sell to anybody that doesn't take notice of you. So here's what I'm saying. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want attention, then you have to go where attention is. That's the only way you're going to get attention, is where the attention's at. See, back in the day, if you were an entrepreneur in business in the first century, then the only way for you to get attention was to go to the marketplace. That's where the mainstream media was. And when I'm referring to the marketplace, I'm talking about like back in year 300, 200, where everybody met up at a specific place or a specific spot in the city to do business. Like it was literally a marketplace. Like think about the swap meets or the flea markets that you go to. The only way people or consumers could buy anything is if they went to places like that. And those places were usually in the cities where the kings or queens or sovereignty reside at, right? So if you wanted that, that's where you had to go if you were an entrepreneur to get attention. That's where the mainstream media was. And then fast forward a little past the first century, going into the second century, then I think it was what? The year 1400 is when the printing press was created. And when the printing press was created, then if you wanted attention, then you had to go to the newspapers, right? If you wanted to reach the masses, the fastest way to reach the masses were to go to the newspaper. And as a matter of fact, that actually doubled the amount of people, not even doubled, tripled, exponentially increased the amount of people you could reach. See, if you were an entrepreneur in the first century, the only people that you could reach was the people who came to the marketplace, right? But when the printing press came out, you can now your reach now expanded even farther because now you can use text on a piece of paper to create to go and expand your business. That's how it happened. And then and then as we continue and as technology continued to increase, a new technology came along called the radio, right? And when the radio came along in what the late 1890s, I mean, in around the 1890s, early 1900s, the radio came along, and then that's where people's attention flocked to, right? And then, so if you were an entrepreneur and you wanted to expand your business, then you better have got on the radio. And as a matter of fact, let me say this: the people who took advantage of where attention went got rich the fastest. So if you were an entrepreneur and you had the understanding that, oh my God, this newspaper thing is a part of mainstream media. A lot of people consume this newspaper. This is where a lot of people are attention is. And if you were able to think of that back in that time, and you understood that people's attention were a part of the newspaper, then you made sure that you was in there because you needed to get taken notice of. And the only way to get taken notice of, or the fastest way to get taken notice of, was to put yourself in the newspapers. And then we fast forward to 1919, I think it was 1895 or 1896 is when the radio was first invented, but it became known publicly in I think 1901 or something, right? And then, but if you was an entrepreneur at that time and you understood the ability that the radio had to reach the masses and you jumped in on that, you became very wealthy very fast because, again, you understood where attention was going. You understood where attention was. And then we fast forward, right? And some other new technology came out in the late 1930s, right? In mid to late 1930s. I mean, the mid to late 1900s. Well, around 1927, I think the first television was created, but it became worldwide and known and sold to the public around in the mid 1900s, around 1950, right? And if you understood then that that's where attention was going, that also made you millions upon millions of dollars if you were an entrepreneur, right? Because that's where attention was. And if you were where attention was, then you can communicate your value that you had to offer, and people would snatch up that value. Why? Because you had their attention. And again, just as the newspaper doubled the amount of people that you could capture their attention, that you had a chance of capturing their attention, then that doubled your income. And then I guess in around 1960, the first computer came along, a new technology, making waves for what we call today the internet. And the internet created social media. And social media is now where all the attention is. That's where the mainstream media is. Social media. So if you want to capture a people's attention, you have to go where the attention is. And the attention is on Facebook. The attention is on TikTok. The attention is on Instagram. The attention is on LinkedIn. The attention is on YouTube. You'll be able to get, if you want people to take notice of you, you gotta go on those platforms because that's where the attention is. You go where the attention is. Right now, the attention is on Facebook or social media. And I don't think too far down the line, the attention is going to be in VR. So if I was you, I would start preparing for that. But right now, you need to focus on getting noticed on Facebook, getting noticed on Instagram, getting noticed. Like, I don't know, like just 20 years ago, it would cost you money to get noticed. You had to pay to be in the newspaper. You had to pay to be on the radio to reach the masses. Like you had to pay to be on television if you wanted to reach the masses or get attention. Now you have the reach of 1 billion people at your fingertips. And you telling me you're not trying to use it to get noticed? And you plan on being an entrepreneur? I mean, please tell me how that's going to work. Because it's not going to work. I can just tell you, it's not going to work. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to sell things to people and you want people to buy things from you, then you better go where attention is. And if attention is on Facebook, then you better be on Facebook. If attention is on TikTok, then you better be on TikTok. And when attention gets in VR, virtual reality, you better go there too. Because again, you can only sell to people who notice you so that you can communicate the value that you have to offer. That's it. But you got to go where the attention is. And then once you go where the attention is, then you got to make yourself findable. And let me just define the word findable. The word findable comes from the root word find. And the root word find means to discover. So after you figure out where attention is, then you need to figure out how to make yourself discoverable. And let me give you a secret on how to make yourself discoverable. You gotta post content. You have to post content. Back in the day, they posted content. Entrepreneurs, way back in the first century, if they wanted people to buy what they were selling, they had to go set up their booth in the marketplace and scream out, "Hooty hoo! I'm over here. Come buy from me." That was their content. And then the newspaper came along. And then they had to create content in the newspaper, right? And then the radio came along. Then they created content for the radio to spread to the masses. And then the internet came along for you to create content like websites and blogs. And then social media comes along. And again, it's asking you to create content so that you can get noticed. But this time in history, you don't have to pay for it. Let me say it again. You don't have to pay for it. You can create content and post it, and it has the ability to reach the masses. Why do you think people are going viral? They got noticed by a lot of people. That's what viral means. They just got noticed by a lot of people. A lot of people noticed them. They got a lot of people to spotlight them. So what I'm saying is, if you want to become findable, you got to create content. If you're not creating content, I'm talking about where attention is. You need to be creating content on LinkedIn. You need to be creating content on YouTube. You need to be creating content on Instagram. You need to be creating content on Facebook. You need to be creating content everywhere attention is, because if you're an entrepreneur and you want people to buy from you, you want people to or engage with your brand, then they have to be able to notice you. They have to take notice of you. They got to be able to spotlight you. And the only way to do that is if they can find you. And the only way they can find you is if you create content to make sure that you are discoverable. Are you discoverable? I mean, because if you barely post any at all, I promise you, it's kind of hard to find you. If you're not creating content every day of some sort, it's kind of hard to find you. I mean, you're listening to this video because I'm creating content so that you can find me. I'm creating content for entrepreneurs. As a matter of fact, you have to start becoming intentional about the content you created and who it's for. I create content for entrepreneurs. So if you're watching this, then the chances are you're probably an entrepreneur, because that's who I want to find my content. I want entrepreneurs to find my content. Why? Because that's the value I want to give to entrepreneurs. That's what I sell. That's what I offer. And if that's what I sell and that's what I offer, then I create content around that. So what I'm saying to you, if you want people to find you, intentional about who you want to find you. I'm intentional about who I want to find me. So when you create content for the people you want to find you. And I promise you, those people will find you. You just got to create content for them. They just don't know you exist. So if you want them to discover you, then you got to exist. Period. Point blank. They can't find you if you don't exist. If you're an entrepreneur and you got a brand and you're not posting content every single day, you're not making yourself discoverable to people, so they don't know you exist. And if they don't know you exist, then how could they buy from you? Make yourself discoverable everywhere. You got to post every single day on all these platforms. Every day. If you want to increase your chances to succeed as an entrepreneur, if you want to increase your brand chances to succeed as a brand, then you got to make yourself findable everywhere. And then, in order to make yourself more findable, partner with other people. You might have the product, but other people might have the audience. Or you might have the audience, and somebody else might have the product. But guess what? There's a fair exchange. I give you my product to you and your audience for their attention, or I give you my audience attention for your product, so that we both become findable and discoverable. I become discoverable to your people, and your people become discoverable to me. That's how you expand attention even faster. Just think about it for a second. If you give, if you're an entrepreneur, right, and you go and partner with some type of influencer or creator, and you give them the product, or you give them whatever offer, whatever it is, you give them an ability to pitch it for you. These influencers, these creators, think about this. They go and create content and go and distribute that content so that they make you or your brand more discoverable. Do you understand why partnerships are so powerful now? And then if they like your brand a lot, they tell even more people about it. They tell their family, their friends, and they constantly and continue to create content on your behalf to make you even more discoverable. If they like your product, if they like what you're offering, if they feel that it's very valuable. And I promise you, there's no greater way to sell than word of mouth. So if you got people willing to take their time out of their day to create content and distribute it to make you more discoverable, why are you not doing more of it? And most of the time, you can get away with it for free. And when I say free, all you got to do is really give them a product or give them your offer for free. And they will go and create and distribute content for you for free to make you more discoverable so people can find you faster. Go and get these strategic partnerships. This is how you play the game. If you want attention, again, go where attention is, and then go and make yourself discoverable where their attention is. And be intentional about who you want to discover you. So again, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be hyper focused on getting noticed and making yourself findable. You got to hyper focus on this if you want to succeed and thrive in today's digital age. Because I promise you, the screens, cell phones, they're not going anywhere. Digital world is not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, technology only goes one way, upwards. So these screens ain't going nowhere. What are people on them? 7, 8 hours now? That's now. I promise you, screen time is going to double. And you still waiting to get noticed as an entrepreneur? I mean, social media is only like 20 years old. Phantom, that social media is really kind of still in its infancy stages. This new media thing's in its kind of infancy stages. And you still trying to figure out if you should get on it and make it work or not. You're getting farther and farther and farther behind. Go where the attention is and make yourself findable so that you can succeed as an entrepreneur in this new digital era. All right, that's all I have for you. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button right below. And I'll see you again next week at the same time. I'm Mowski like Skambowski. And remember, the goal is always to become a strategic player.